Hey everybody, can you hear me okay? Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and get started with the second half of the program. Great, thank you. I'm Jessica Hough. I'm a partner at Skadden and on the board of trustees, and I'm just going to kick off the second half of our program tonight. Since 1990, Legal Aid has had the honor of recognizing some true heroes in the fight for justice. That's what our Servant of Justice Awards are all about. Recipients of this award have dedicated their careers to the simple but profound tenet that there should never be a price tag on justice. We have the privilege of honoring two true servants of justice who are here with us tonight. And to present our first Servant of Justice Award, I am thrilled to introduce Alice Fisher, a partner at Latham & Watkins.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to both recipients. So I am pleased to be able to present for my friend, my colleague, my partner, Dave Dantzic, on this amazing achievement to receive the Servant of Justice Award for the Legal Aid Society. So happy for you. There are so many of your friends here and people that you know and don't know that are so willing and happy to celebrate for you and with you, and to thank both you and Martha for all your support and generosity to allow Dave to do this through the years, and to Sammy, who looks amazing in your tuxedo, and who has been the apple of Dave's eye and the support behind him for years. So happy to have both of you all sharing in this wonderful occasion for Dave. So, Dave, you are an inspiration to all of us here. And of course, for many who are hundreds of people who are not here, who may not even know your name, and may not know the time, the effort, the giving, the legal brilliance that you have given to them throughout the years. We're so happy, and you're an inspiration to those of us who know you, but I just want to say, so proud that you are my colleague, you are everybody's inspiration, and you have made a lasting impact on the Legal Aid Society. So many of you may also know about Dave's involvement in legal aid over the years. It goes back for some time. He's a brilliant lawyer and has given his services to legal aid for some time, but also served on the executive committee for some time and then became president of the executive committee in 2018. And throughout that time, the giving that he gave to legal aid, he helped people, as many of you do, advised people, brought his legal brilliance to legal aid. I understand from Rob, who I've been speaking with, he routinely emailed about legal aid issues at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and I must say, at Latham, we knew he did that for his corporate clients, but he did it for legal aid too, and that's because he treated them, the Legal Aid Society, first, and as just as important as any client he has ever had, and perhaps even more. So after serving on the executive committee for the board of legal aid, Dave became president of the board, as I said, in 2018. And through that leadership, he dedicated his generosity, his time, his talent, his fundraising skills, and most importantly, his compassion to the organization. And then the pandemic hit while he was president. And some of you know quite well the challenges that the Legal Aid Society faced during the pandemic. And some of you can only imagine the challenges that Legal Aid Society faced during the pandemic. To try to serve a community that was challenged during COVID, even to communicate, or even to get access to the courts when they needed them, or even to get access to the government and government services when they needed them. There were challenges that nobody expected, And through Dave's leadership, many, many people at the Legal Aid Society were able to provide value to all of those clients. And just as an example of his incredible generosity and sacrifice, in the middle of the pandemic, his term expired and he agreed to serve on. He agreed to sacrifice and serve on and to give more to the people that needed it because of the challenge, because he's always the person that will run first to help people that are suffering. In fact, one of my partners this week said, he is the most empathetic guy I know, and he takes people suffering so seriously that he has to be the first in line to help somebody and give them a hand when they are in need of help. And he did that for the pandemic for so many people. He helped establish the hotlines. He helped to rally people to give more, to do more, even while they were shut in at their home, to make sure that services were provided through the Legal Aid Society. And it's really just showing and demonstrative of his unwavering commitment to the community and to service. So no matter the sacrifice, he stayed on and steered the ship, and there's no doubt because of that he's an inspiration. On a personal note, I have seen this through not only his work at Legal Aid, but through his work at Latham, and we have many Latham partners here celebrating him and his amazing career. He is an authentic and humble leader at the firm, as he was here. He gave so much mentorship and support to so many lawyers at Latham. I can tell you they were more successful and led better lives both in work and in life because of his generosity and his caring and the way that he reached out in so many ways. Of course, the generosity, I must say, that he and Martha have both given to Legal Aid know no bounds. It's amazing. When he was doing fundraising for the firm, he would always do it in his understated way. He was not pushy about giving. He was not judgmental about giving. It was, let me give you an opportunity to give back and to feel the way that I feel to give to such an amazing organization. He was so happy to talk about it and to share the grace and the compassion that he had for the organization and wanted others to join in it. And so he was always setting better goals and bigger goals. And it's just amazing what you and Martha have done. And you all have given back to the community in so many ways. This is not the only way they've given back to the DC community, and it's so important to note that as well. I could give you a very long list, from things as lofty as helping the Hill Center reestablish a Civil War hospital in order to do an arts and humanities service community in DC, all the way to helping the market down the street at Capitol Hill save Mott's Market in the community. So yeah, so many things, big and small, service to the community, such an inspiration of his service. And I would just say, when I was thinking about this, I kept coming back to my mind, it's the Servant of Justice Award, but really what Dave is, he's a servant leader. And that was something that was coined back in 1970 by Robert Greenleaf in an essay that said, the servant as a leader. And it's about a leader that who builds the community, and they build it through caring and empathy and trust and humility. But foremost, it's the commitment and the growth to the people. And the essay goes on to say, quote, caring for persons, the more able and the less able, is the rock upon which a good society is built. And that is Dave, and that is why he should be celebrated tonight and is celebrated tonight. And I'm so happy to introduce him.
First, thank you, Alice. Those were very kind words. And thank you all for being here tonight to support the important work of legal aid. Martha and I have been coming to this Servant of Justice dinner for over 15 years. We find it inspirational, and I have always been awestruck by the awardees who have all done truly great things. Thurgood Marshall, Eric Holder, Vanita Gupta, Don Varelli, Marian Wright Edelman, and David Dantzic. You'll pardon me if I'm a little skeptical, but one of these things doesn't belong here. Joan McCowan, Legal Aid's board president, assured me that it was in fact not a mistake. And so I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about how I got here and maybe inspiring some of you in the same way that prior recipients have inspired me. Like many of you, I learned my first lessons about volunteerism and philanthropy from my parents. Sammy, are you paying attention? Although both my parents had grown up in Orthodox Jewish homes, the Judaism that we practiced was mostly about being part of a community and tikkun olam, a Talmudic precept that means repair the world. For many years, my mother led our temple's participation in the Midnight Run, an ecumenical organization that several nights a month brought a van full of hot soup, sandwiches, and warm clothing from Westchester, where we lived, down into Manhattan. My mother insisted that I regularly join her, and I was part of the crew that went down into the subways to alert homeless men and women that we had arrived. Through this experience, I learned firsthand the humanity of the dispossessed and the agency that I could have through my actions in meeting their needs. When I describe my career, and none of my colleagues at Latham will be surprised by this, I often call myself the least likely guy to have the job I have. I was a science kid growing up, and I came to Latham thinking I was going to work as an environmental attorney for a few years, pay off my student loans, and then move on to other jobs in government or the nonprofit sector. But Newt Gingrich had other plans, and when he shut down the EPA for a few weeks in 1995, I got staffed onto an M&A transaction, and my career path was forever altered. I have always been intrigued by the work, but a few years after making partner, I recognized that there was a piece of my professional life that was missing. I hadn't really gone to law school to learn how to do leverage buyouts. But at the same time, I had never stepped foot in a courtroom, and trying to supervise a pro bono case might have been malpractice. When I raised this question with Rick Bernthal, the longtime managing partner of Latham's DC office, and my predecessor as Latham's representative on Legal Aid's board, he saw it as a sign from above that his time to serve was over. And he asked me if I wanted to take his place. It was at that moment that I realized that while I had never before served on a board, I had advised a lot of them. I was a regular donor, I cared deeply about Legal Aid's mission, and I could bring these skills and passions to the task. I could regale you with stories of 13 years of budget meetings, performance evaluations, and cliffhanger fundraising campaigns. But I will spare you that, except to say I'm extraordinarily proud of the growth and impact that the board has been able to help facilitate. In 2010, when I began, Legal Aid's budget was $3.1 million. Today, it is more than 12.3. We have doubled the number of lawyers from 31 to 63. And most importantly, during this period, we have more than quadrupled the number of clients served to over 9,000 annually. But numbers don't tell the whole story. Several years after I joined the board, I decided that I needed to better understand the lives of our clients. I began volunteering during walk-in intake hours, where I met with individuals for a short time, took down the details of their problems, and sometimes dispensed some straightforward legal advice. Some of their stories will remain with me always. The young woman with a disability who had her 2-year-old daughter on her lap, as she told me that she was about to be evicted from her home because she owed just less than $600. An elderly gentleman with Alzheimer's who came in with his nephew, his only family. He had been receiving services from a home health aide 12 hours a day because of his cognitive decline. But the government had changed the methodology for determining his benefits and reduced his services to 14 hours per week. Two things became clear to me during this work. First, many people who come to legal aid lead complicated lives. They often have problems that mask themselves as legal issues, but run much deeper. And without resources, they have nowhere else to turn. And second, poor people in America are way more likely to interface with the legal system than those in the middle class. It is critical in a just nation that they have a lawyer to help them navigate a Byzantine and sometimes arbitrary system. The role that legal aid plays here in the district was driven home to me during my time as president. When COVID hit, virtually everything legal aid did was impacted. Legal aid's housing unit successfully advocated for the nation's most protective eviction moratorium. Then, when it was lifted, they worked with our partners to stop 2/3 of the pending evictions by ensuring that all eligible tenants got connected with pandemic relief assistance. Legal Aid's family law unit worked to ensure victims of domestic violence could continue to get restraining orders when the courts had shut down in-person hearings. And perhaps more importantly, they developed processes to assist people who were trapped in their homes with their abusers to obtain protection. And in one final example of the broad impact of legal aid's work, just at the point that the world was shutting down, our public benefits unit, with the help of Servant of Justice Dan Jarkow, and in partnership with attorneys general from around the country, led by my fellow honoree, Karl Racine, had prevented the Trump administration's attempt to implement work requirements for SNAP recipients, preserving this critical bulwark against food insecurity for millions of recipients across the country. Given all of this, it is imperative that we secure legal aid's future. To those ends, it is my pleasure to publicly announce tonight, for the first time, the launch of the Making Justice Real Endowment. We began our work almost 4 years ago to create a permanent capital vehicle primarily targeted at legacy giving. The earnings from this endowment will be used to partially fund the operating budget of legal aid. To kickstart this effort, my firm, Latham & Watkins, agreed to match the $250,000 Martha and I contributed to the new fund. We then turned to some of legal aid's most stalwart supporters who answered the call. And I'm pleased to announce that we have reached the $5 million mark. Can I ask those of you who are on the list behind me to stand up for a moment and be recognized for your generosity? We hope we don't see much of this funding for many years, but rest assured that you are providing a legacy of justice for the future. Last summer, I had the privilege of hearing Dr. Ijoma Nigerian name. Dr. Ijoma Onojuju, a true servant of justice warrior, speak at a camp Martha, Sammy, and I attend. One of the participants asked a question about what we were supposed to do to help fix the inequities and injustices in the world today. He responded that it was up to each of us to decide for ourselves. He also said that some of us are meant to take down walls, and some of us are meant to knock out a single brick, and some of us are meant to bring those other people coffee. But we all need to do something. So that is my message to you tonight. I hope that you each will spend some time in the days and weeks ahead thinking about what you want the community and the world you live in to look like. Ask yourselves, what is my moral ambition? And then think about what skills and passions and resources you can bring to the work that has to be done. For some of you, it will be volunteering to tutor a child, or clean a riverbank, or give pro bono representation to a family being evicted from their home. For others, it will be working on a nonprofit board to support the work of dedicated professionals like the team we have at Legal Aid. Be intentional about your philanthropy. Give generously. Pair it with direct action. Invest at least some of your time and money in your local community. Support the fundraising efforts and volunteer work of others in your workplace, your place of worship, and your neighborhood. And last but not least, make it a part of your legacy by including philanthropy in your estate plan. If you do all that, you too can be a servant of the community, a servant of the environment, a servant of compassion, or a servant of justice. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm back. First of all, I just, as we near the end of the program, I want to take a minute to recognize the incredible staff here at the JW Marriott for all of the amazing work tonight. Thank you. I also want to take a very, very quick second to thank the development team here at Legal Aid, especially Rob, Catherine, Madison, and Kayla. Thank you so much. All right, the last Servant of Justice Award winner for tonight, my former boss and mentor, Karl Racine. Most of you know Karl's biography, so I'll spare you all of the many details of his accomplishments in the public and private sectors. But I have to say, as the first independent elected Attorney General, Karl transformed that office from one that merely defended the district to a juggernaut in the public interest. Put simply, he declared the office's mission to use the law to help our most vulnerable residents. This meant fighting for consumers, tenants, workers, and seniors, reforming our juvenile justice system, and combating discrimination, hate, and violence. Because of his tireless focus on communities that have been left behind and pushed out, so much of Karl's work helped Legal Aid's client community. There's a lot I can say about Karl, but I'll share just one comment he made to me. I like following precedent, but I prefer to make precedent. This comment perfectly captures Karl's work, his life, and his tenure as Attorney General. He understood that a government agency that truly worked for the people was a transformative act. And his comment perfectly captures what I hope we can accomplish here at Legal Aid. Eliminating poverty, hunger, homelessness, and displacement calls on us to think expansively about how we can use the law and when we need to change it. I know Karl pretty well, but I want to bring up someone who knows him even better than I do to tell us more about why he's a true servant of justice. We are honored that Raul Fernandez agreed to co-chair tonight's dinner. Raul is, of course, an owner and vice chairman of Monumental Sports, which operates the Capital One Arena and owns many of your favorite sports teams, the Wizards, the Capitals, the Mystics. Raul is a leader in the technology industry, and I have to admit that I don't fully understand all the ways in which his work has transformed our country and our society. Well, here's what I do understand. Raul's philanthropy in the district has been even more transformative, particularly for our young people. A native Washingtonian, Raul went to the same high school as Karl Racine and has known him for over 30 years. So with that, I'm thrilled to welcome to the stage Raul Fernandez.
Thank you so much. So Sunday I was thinking about my week, and I have the honor of being here with my good friend Karl. And I was also playing with a new AI product from Google called Bard. So I asked Bard to make an introduction for Karl. So I'm going to read you that very quickly first, and then I'm going to add the more human touch to this natural language output. Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to introduce our speaker tonight, Karl Racine. Karl is a passionate advocate for justice and equality, and he has dedicated his career to fighting for the rights of all people. Karl is a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania, the University of Virginia Law School. He began his legal career as a public defender in D.C. and later worked for civil rights at the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. He joined the law firm Venable, where he rose to a position of managing partner. In 2015, he was elected Attorney General for the District of Columbia. In that role, he was a tireless advocate for the people of D.C., fighting for their rights and protecting their interests. He has taken on powerful interests from big banks to slumlords, and has won significant victories for the people of D.C. Again, this is an AI writing this, not me. Karl Racine is a respected leader in the legal community. He's a member of, I'm going to skip a little faster here. I'm confident that you'll find Karl. But anyway, it was a fascinating and fact-checked 90%, factual, a couple of alternative facts, but that's all right, it's D.C. But it was neat to see that you can take this body of work that's out there for all of us and you can condense it into something that it's actually almost usable. But it really did not capture, in my mind, what Karl is all about as a human being. And it was not bad for a natural language and machine learning application, but it does not fully appreciate or capture everything that makes Karl so special. As Vikram mentioned, both Karl and I attended St. John's College High School in Washington, D.C., and Vikram, one of the things that I think we all have in common, at least Karl, you and I, is that we all had moms that took that bus, and we're all sons of immigrants. And so it's a special connection that we all have here, and it's a special connection that I feel with everyone that's helping immigrants, because I grew up and I got lucky and I made a little money in technology and I got to do other things and I get to give back. But I could have been in a totally different place, and I fully appreciate that every day. As a local Lasallian high school that at the time was boys only in the 80s and late 70s, and junior ROTC, so that was boys only and military. Among the many things that we had to do was to make sure our brass was shined and our hair was cut and your shoes were shined, and we had to show up every day for inspection at 8 a.m. And while at the time it was not the most fun, in retrospect, it really helped me appreciate many values that have been with me ever since. The school motto then was, "Building boys is better than mending men." I know that being sternly led by sergeants and Christian brothers helped me keep on the right path, and I think it also played a role in Karl's life as well. But as we prepare to welcome Karl on this stage, I want to share a quote from a mentor of mine, Jack Kemp, that describes why we're here and to honor Karl, and how that phrase, I think, not only is a benefit, is a incredible testament to what makes him special, but it's a testament to what makes Legal Aid special and what makes all of you special for being part of this. And that phrase was being worthy of winning. It's not winning at any cost, but it's being worthy of winning. And I believe that his career and life journey have been guided by that principle. And I am so proud to call him a dear friend, and please welcome Karl Racine to the stage.
Good evening, you all. It shouldn't be longer than about 90 minutes. Not going to do that to you. And honestly, David, you deserve every bit of recognition and all that you've given with your heart, soul, and treasure, dating back to the encouragement that your incredible mom, instilled in you, makes you more than worthy to be a servant of justice. And just listening to all that you've done, and I know that the tremendously difficult times that the pandemic brought. I also know that, of course, Legal Aid was going through a transition in leadership, and that also, bears a lot on the board. There is no doubt that this organization is strong today because of your extraordinary commitment, selflessness, as we've all had a chance to see, and just immense leadership. So thank you. And thanks to all of the honorees, as well, who have, really worked hard on behalf of other people. I've always thought Legal Aid has done something, and it goes back to Eric's day, so well. You tell the story from the perspective of the client. And by elevating the client, not only do we all get a sense of the vulnerabilities that lie just, beneath the surface, but we also get a clear sense as to what we might do to help our fellow neighbor. And so with that, I'm honored to be here. Let me just say that I'm particularly proud of a lot of people who I had the pleasure of working with at the Office of Attorney General. We'd always say at the Office of Attorney General that we're not leaderless. I would pause and hope that no one would say, yes, we are. Didn't happen too frequently, but we're leaderful. And in that regard, quite honestly, the talent and leadership and commitment at the Office of Attorney General is extraordinary. My Chief Deputy, Natalie Ludaway, my first Chief Deputy, is here. My second Chief Deputy, great lawyer, Jason Downs, and we've heard from the third Chief Deputy, Vikram Swaruup, who's just extraordinary, Chief of Staff, Abby Wilhelm, and others, and Councilmember Pinto, also a member of the OAG family and team, and my colleague and friend Marta Markowska are here. So OAG is really a leader-full agency. But every now and again, somebody real special comes about, and that's Vikram Swaruup. Let me just tell you, you're talking about a brilliant lawyer, a lawyer who can literally do it all. Complaint, answer, interrogatory, deposition. There was conversation about the important cases that OAG brought, along with legal aid, around SNAP, or colloquially known as food stamps. Vikram actually was in the courtroom arguing that case and bringing home the goods against the Trump administration and protecting people, for having food on their plate at night. And so with Vikram, I am confident that legal aid has got the right leader, with the right legal background, and a humongous heart. So it's great to see you in this role, Mr. Executive Director. Raul, thank you for skipping over a lot of stuff at St. John's. It was a hard time. I was a public school kid. And if my memory's correct, what happened was that there was a school strike in the District of Columbia, and my mom received a phone call from Ms. Suarez, who was my French teacher, and I didn't know this, but Ms. Suarez was also pursuing her PhD in foreign languages, and my mom was the person who was her dissertation, I guess, guide. And so Ms. Suarez ratted me out. And what she said is that with the strike, Karl's not doing really well. He's starting to become attracted to a group of folks, who are engaged in conduct that's not going to be really good for Karl. You need to move him. Sure enough, we moved and we go to St. John's. And the last thing I needed to hear was somebody tell me that my shoes weren't shined properly. So that was a hard transition. But you're right, it taught us about good old-fashioned discipline and values and the idea of service. And that's where Raul comes from. He doesn't really talk too much about it, but I know the kind of work that he does in terms of elevating the community in DC, working hard for kids who really need help when it comes to the most important skill set, literacy. And they've been doing that for a long time at Monument. So it's really a pleasure to have you, and thank you for speaking on my behalf, Raul. Great Capitals championship ring. When's the next one coming? So I guess the theme is honoring our mothers, because, sure enough, I get this award, honestly, in the sense that it comes straight from my mom, Dr. Marie M.B. Racine, 45 years as a professor at the University of the District of Columbia. My sister and I hated the University of the District of Columbia because that's where my mom was, or that's where everybody else that was eating the food that we thought was ours was was in school. But she really did imbue us with a never-ending responsibility, duty, to do for others what they may need help in doing for themselves. And that's where, the ethos, really came in. I just want to say that as the Office of Attorney General, I see my good buddy Seth Rosenthal is the Chief Deputy at the Office of Attorney General. Our mission was using the law to help vulnerable residents maximally, and I'm happy to see that the Office of Attorney General is doing just that still today. I also want to recognize my new colleagues at Hogan Lovells, who have totally embraced me. I'm a handful, and all that I bring, and the firm's service commitment to pro bono and just being engaged in the District of Columbia, could not be stronger now under Michelle Farquhar's leadership as our managing partner in charge of the DC office. I know that words can go on, and so I'm pledged to not go on and on. Instead, I remember all the time going to talk at fundraisers and the like for not-for-profit organizations, and invariably one of my teammates would say, "You cannot ask people to give money, because that would be some ethical violation." Last I checked, I'm not Attorney General. And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I think that, we've all heard that governments are really suffering. They're hurting, and governments are reacting in different ways. And while I know Chairman Charles Allen and Brooke Pinto are going to do everything they can to make sure that the budget of legal aid doesn't get whacked in the way that it's been proposed, I do think that it's important for the choir that I'm preaching to reach a little deeper this year to ensure that folks who really, really need it will have the appropriate professionals by their side to make sure that maybe their kids have an opportunity to come up and be a servant of justice. I was taken by your citation of your child there, and I hope my kids, 2 boys, grow up one day and cite also to David's mom, to Raul's mom, and to my mom as the inspiration for their selfless leadership. With that, I say thank you very much, and I hope you all had a wonderful evening. Please join me in contributing just a little bit more this year to legal aid. Thank you.
Please welcome Natalie Ludaway, one of our co-chairs this evening.
So, I am at the end, and I want to really say what a wonderful, wonderful evening this has been. Of course, congratulations to all of the honorees. David, I'm looking right at you, and what you said was so moving, and for all the honorees, all of the work that you've done. And two, my friend and former boss, the leader of the office, Karl, thank you for all that you've done for the district. And really, Vikram, I have the pleasure of having the microphone to say that Vikram, when he came into the office, I got my job was to interview. And I remember interviewing Vikram, entering into a challenging negotiation in terms of him coming into the office. knowing that he was special and talented and all those wonderful things, and then later on finding out that Vikram was in my former office with my former job. So that says it all in terms of Vikram. So you are with a leader, and legal aid is in excellent hands. So this has been a record-breaking dinner, $1.7 million, I think I saw, so let's give a hand. And it's wonderful that this will be used for those in the District of Columbia who need it. As having been in the DC Office of Attorney General and really seeing the need in the District of Columbia, there's great need, and this is a room that's really filled with, for those who are particularly with in law firms, with really wealth to help to give back. So really take up the challenge to give to the district, district residents. I'm about to step off, but I have a script that I know that if I don't follow, Vikram will be coming at me. So we're not done yet. On the way out of the ballroom, you're going to see several baskets. We'll be collecting name tags. And in the, here's the baskets. And so in terms of the baskets, you have a choice. One choice is to put your name tag in a basket, and for a mere $397, that is enough to staff a legal aider for a day. If you don't want to do that, you can also make arrangements where you put your name tag in the basket, where you can express your interest in making a commitment to legal aid through your estate. So lots of choices, and I'm going to start to show, I don't know where the basket is, but trust me, I'm going to put my name tag in a basket, and I'm going to now welcome everyone to the dessert reception. So name tag, there's a theme here. Let's give, and all the best, Vikram, and to everyone at the Legal Aid Society. Thank you.